So my son Sawyer was 9 years old when my mom died of brain lymphoma. And he was at this beautiful age where his very favorite thing was all these action figures. He called them his guys, and he kept them all in this little bag. And they would have these epic battles like all over this house. Some guys perched over here ready to attack. Some guys over here that were hiding, ready to like defend the attack. All the time, Sawyer was in the middle, just orchestrating all this beautiful sense of these epic battles that he put together. And he'd make these great little battle noises as he played. My mom, she died in December, and it was just 10 days before Christmas. She was buried 4 days before Christmas. And her funeral, it was shrouded with this intense grief and pain. We all just missed her. The whole year leading up to her death was absolutely exhausting. It was excruciating for all of us. It was this combination of hospital visits and inpatient and chemotherapy and stem cell transplants, all of these different appointments, all of these different things that required it. It took an entire family to figure out how we were going to do that. We had this insane schedule. Since she got her treatment in Rochester, we would go back and forth to Rochester from Des Moines, about 3.5 hours for all of these different appointments. Got to the point where my parents actually just moved to Rochester because my mom couldn't handle the travel anymore. So I'd go back and forth, and my husband would just take care of our family because I was trying to take care of my mom. Friends, it was more than hard losing my mom the way we did. We celebrated Christmas, and during that Christmas break, we were all just sort of in this like grief shock in our whole house. And one day I went upstairs, and Sawyer was doing a whole epic battle in his bedroom. I went in there and I could hear his beautiful noises, and I went in and I said, "Oh, hey pal, how's it going?" And he looked at me and he turned, and he had these little sweet tears running down his face from his big brown eyes. And I said, "What's going on?" And he said, "You know what? I'm battling. Leave me alone." And I was like, "It seems like you're battling a lot." I said, "I really miss her too." He didn't really want to talk to me. He just kept his guys kind of going at it. And then finally I said, "Okay, Sawyer, so who's the bad guy?" And he looked at me with his big wet brown eyes. And to my deep, deep surprise, he said, "It's grief." Never heard anything so profound. And I said, "Yeah, buddy, that's a really tough one to battle." And he just started, he goes, "The problem with grief is that he's the toughest bad guy there is. It's like just when you think that you've defeated him, he comes back. Grief never really dies and goes away." My friends, it was a beautiful explanation of how do we heal from grief. And I'm going to be really, really transparent and honest with you. I don't actually think that we do. I don't actually think that we heal from grief. I think that we move on into our lives with grief. Yes, at some point it hurts less acutely than it first did. And yes, you heal, but I think that it's like a scar. You're just marked by it forever. You're going to never not have that scar, that open wound from grieving the person that you loved. And I think we just carry it with us forever. And here's the farther truth. I think maybe that's okay. Actually, I think maybe it's even good. I think it's good for us to walk around with these battle scars of grief on us, these daily markings of the people that came into our lives that we loved and cherished and enjoyed, and now we take those scars and missing them with us. You see, I think we live in a culture that likes to get over things, a culture that doesn't like to pretend that those pains are there, and so we do whatever it takes in our culture to numb, anesthetize, ignore, scroll through, or eat our way through things to make it seem like everything is going to be okay. We don't like to show our scars. We don't want to show that we carry grief around with us. So we pretend to have healing out there in the world, like everything is just fine, when really on the inside it really just isn't. So I think that maybe grief is good. I think we miss the beauty that God has for us by being able to carry joy and grief in our hands at the exact same time. So if you're trying to heal from grief, I want to remind you that grief goes with you. And you're marked by it because you loved somebody. And that's not just okay, it's good. It's okay to weep for them, to cry out loud, but also to remember that God promises to be with you in it, that death doesn't actually ever win, that death is not the last word, because Jesus said, death is not the way. I am the way. There's a promise there at the end of the grief, and maybe you'll be able to battle it down for a little bit, but maybe it comes back. And maybe eventually grief, it just walks with you like a friend. This little reminder that you got to love somebody so much that now it hurts. My friends, I don't think we heal from grief. I think it just gets softer, less aggressive. But I think grief goes with us, just the same way that God's promises to be with us in it goes with us too.